Hey, you bunch of weirdos. Welcome to the Guitdiot Sessions Episode 2 COVID series. Um, Hope everybody is staying safe, being smart out there, and taking care of yourselves. I know it's a tough time for everybody, either working because you're essential and having to be exposed to everything, or having to stay home because of lockdowns or quarantines. So we're all in it together. We'll get through it. So I hope everybody's doing well. Now, uh, what I wanted to talk a little bit about today is my approach and thoughts on the guitar solo. Um, Anybody who has heard any of my music, which is available on all streaming and downloading platforms, um, knows that I have a guitar solo in absolutely every song. So I'm a fan of them. I like them. A lot of people, they can do without them. But me personally, I really like them. Um, so my approach to doing guitar solos is, I don't want to say it's necessarily traditional. In the more modern sense, a lot of what you'll hear um, nowadays, or even the years past, in the past couple of decades, is a guitar solo has to serve the song. Song before solo, yada yada yada. These are ridiculous rules made up by lead singers. Um, and anytime I hear anybody say that, the solo that I then want to put into that song is one that absolutely plows over the song, and is just on the cusp of not fitting at all. Um, so that's my thoughts on the guitar solo. I think any song that has been made that doesn't have a guitar solo in it should be re-recorded with a guitar solo in it. And any song moving forward um, should also have a guitar solo added, put in there somewhere. Um, so um, that's my thoughts on guitar solos. I want them in there all the time, and I'm going to do everything I can to keep them in there. Um, so, as far as my personal approach to my songs and my solos that I write, um, I try not to worry about, or plan out too much as far as the notes that are going to be played. So I never think I want to make sure that I get these notes in there, or something like that. A lot of it will start with, having the recording going and improvising over it until you kind of start to develop. Even though they're a guitar solo and it may not seem like they necessarily have parts. Um, the way that I look at it is there are parts. There's this part that does this, and then there's a separation from that into the next thing where it does this little guy, and it's basically like a miniature song that doesn't have as much repetition in it. So I look at it as opposed to the notes, or clearly I'm gonna work within the scales that are in the chord progression or the key that it's in. The feel of it will determine whether it's a minor or major, scale that's used. I do use a lot of pentatonics, the blues scale mixed in with the minor scale, because I usually will try to put in some shred rock type elements, as well as some blues rock stuff, just to kind of make it have a little bit of a unique sound. So it's not all crazy technical rock or classical sounding lead stuff. You put a little bit more expression in there with the blues stuff and make it sound a little bit different, and not make it at least it as interesting as possible. So I will usually use approach of let's see what kind of techniques we can add into the song and this solo. So let's say, for instance, I wanted to add in, or I hear a song and I think, this would sound really cool if it kind of had this airy um, wavy type, sound, almost, spacey kind of sounding thing. So for that, there would be kind of I would start to add space in between the notes that I'm playing. So you'll hear it in some of the solos and things that I play. So I do some riffs this is a variation on the expansion of the pentatonic scale. So playing the key of E here, doing things like. So you hear things like that, to kind of give it some space. So really, it's I like to experiment with, playing wide, different spacing as far as stretching your hands out a little bit. To, it kind of creates some cool sounds, because a lot of times when you're running scales, to generate speed, you will try to kind of stay in, a small zone. But if you want to kind of separate it out, it kind of creates it's more interesting sounding. It's not necessarily super complex, but it is something that creates the sound of complexity, and it's just really cool sounding. That's another thing about guitar solos, is it can't just be this overly complex stuff all the time. Because it gets, for me at least, it gets exhausting to listen to. Like I can't, a guy that just, will, a guy or girl that will just sit there and just play, these really fast scale runs over and over, and there's nothing to, that's all it is. It's daunting. So, I try to create some space in between the quick parts. I always say that there needs to be a really fast part, and a part that kind of slows it down a little bit. To keep it interesting, if you can behind the chord, behind the guitar solo and the chord progression, if you can change either the chord progression to be different than the song, or you can add some stops or things like that. I always think those are really, really good too. So I definitely like the the quick scale runs, but in some cases, like I said, I'll switch up the techniques to see what suits the song better. So where I may initially hear something as needing, wanting to go something like that, you'll notice there I'm not doing a lot of picking. It's all really in the left hand. So it's a lot of legato playing, where I may go into a second run of it and say, well, everything needs to be picked. And just create that different sound. So that's a lot of the ways that I go and approach the solos. It's like I said, it's really a matter of trying to see, as opposed to what scales am I going to play, what techniques am I going to use? Am I going to use fast picking? Am I going to use legato stuff? Am I going to pull in some finger tapping or pick tapping or whatever it is, and trying to find the techniques that sound cool in the song, and then from there kind of determining what pattern or what notes within that technique are going to be played. So just the general way that I kind of approach them. So that's my ideas on the guitar solo. Once again, guitar solos are better than anything else in the world. People always yell out "Freebird" at the end of a song. They don't ask to hear a sample from some ridiculous pop song. So I want to get to a couple questions here that I wasn't able to get to last time. So we can go ahead and jump into those. So my good friend Colby from Texas asked what my second favorite instrument to play is. It's actually drums. I'm not very good at drums. All the drums that you hearing my songs from the Dear Today album, or actually after the Dear Today album on, are programmed. The Dear Today album I did actually play the drums on, and then edit it as needed, just because I'm not that really that strong of a drummer. But and as far as like, if I want to sit down and have fun, just messing around, playing drums are my second favorite instrument. I've always loved good drums and songs. That's it's my second favorite part of songs is the drums. So, and then Colby also asked which musicians influenced or inspire you the most. So with this, it changes. I think I talked a little bit about it, or maybe a lot about it, in the first episode, but I found that over the years, as far as what's actually impacting my playing, that always changes to different artists all the time. There were influences that got me started, playing, or getting serious about guitar, and that would be, back when I was a teenager, when I started getting into Jimi Hendrix and different things like that, and Stevie Ray Vaughan, Eric Clapton and Cream, and all the the classic rock stuff, Leonard Skinner, were stuff that kind of were initial inspiration when I started playing, but it always moves and changes because although most of the stuff that I listen to is rock music, it's different types of rock music. So there'll be times when I'm listening to grunge or to the newer alt rock type things, and those will influence or inspire different sounding songs, or our styles or feels. So I'm not a purist as far as I only listen to metal, or I only listen to hard rock. I listen to all kinds of rock. I don't discriminate when it comes to rock music. I'll listen to all of it. So the inspiration for songs and the influences for the guitar playing change over the years, and things like that. So like I said, it just kind of depends on the period of time. My good buddy Tyler, also from Texas, had a few different questions. So he was asking which song is the one you're most proud of and why. So this is kind of a toss-up between the first two songs that I actually released. So that would be Hideaway off the Dear Today album, and the song Dear Today off the Dear Today album. And the reason that I'm most proud of those is just because it's a kind of a tricky thing for an artist to go out and start putting music out into the world. There's always nervousness and anxiety as far as will people like it, and things like that. And it took me quite a while over the years of recording and re-recording and learning how to record, and developing more as a vocalist and things like that. Because when I first started, I wasn't, I was just a guitar player. So learning how to sing and how to record vocals and different stuff like that. It was all a really long process, and writing all the songs for the first record. It took a few years, and there was a lot of stuff going on, just regular life stuff, that, either would delay it, or, I tried recording in, studios, and, I'd try to learn something and be like, this is going to be the thing that's going to, after I get this thing, I'm going to be able to finish it and it's going to sound great, and it wouldn't pan out, so it was a lot of trial and error. So the first two songs, I still really like the songs themselves, but those are, I would say, the ones that I'm most proud of, because I was actually able to, that got the ball rolling as far as getting out there and getting the record released and being able to make subsequent stuff, and a jumping off point to learn more and more, and things like that. So those are the first two. Which one do you love to play the most, and why? So which song? So that's going to be one of the newer ones, about the same. The song About the Same. And the reason for that is just because there's a lot going on guitar wise in it. So it's got the really fun kind of get you in the groove riff at the beginning, or it kicks right off with the the drum fill intro, and then the guitars jump in with the so right off the bat, it's it's fun riff stuff, and then the choruses are real busy too, with the so just a lot going on it. So it's that's what makes it just a lot of fun. There's just all these riffs and chord changes, and the chords themselves are kind of almost like a like a single note riff to me. So that one's probably the most fun. And his last question was, which song do you want to have as your next music video? So music videos, I think they're silly, and I think they should be silly when I do them. So I've got my next idea for my next music video, and I think I've got the song that I want to do in the works for that one. So I'm not gonna divulge it, but trust me, Tyler, there's one that's on the way, and I think I might use you in the video if you're available. So anyway, that's what I got for you today. That's all the questions. Again, feel free to comment on this video, or send me a message or comment on any of my posts on social media if you would have a question for me. Like I said, it does not have to be about music. I'll talk about almost anything. Make sure you are following on my socials, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, at the Matt Massey. My website is themattmassey.com. Make sure you, what is it they say, like and subscribe and share for these YouTube videos. Still planning on continuing on with this series for a little while. Hopefully keep you guys entertained while everybody's quarantined up. At least suck some time out of your day until you have to sleep again. And yeah, so that's going to be it for the video today. Thanks, y'all. Be safe.